Thank you. Senator Rubio, I look forward to this hearing and to our service together. Welcome to the other side of the dais, and welcome to your wife, Jeanette, your children, your family. Thank you for your service. I have three questions broadly of nominees. Do they have the qualifications to appropriately serve? Do they have a policy alignment with our core national interests? And do they have the integrity and character to serve? We may have policy disagreements, but we've had multiple areas of convergence. Over the time we've served here in the Senate together, I had my folks go back and look. We've co-sponsored nearly 60 bills together. So I hope we can continue to find constructive ways to partner. I have a number of questions to get through, so I'll try to move briskly. With regards to special envoys, President-elect Trump has appointed a series of special envoys focused on a wide range of areas. And some of these, I think, can genuinely complement, not undermine or distract from State Department's core efforts. The Special Envoy for Hostage Affairs, for example, Adam Boehler, I look forward to working with. As Senator McCormick asked about, there's a number of key issues around hostage taking of Americans. There's a bipartisan bill Senator Risch and I have on this that we hope to work with you on. Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, Special Envoy for Ukraine and Russia, I think will be central to achieving an outcome in Ukraine that is a lasting and secure peace and prevents further Russian aggression. But others like Rick Grinnell for special missions and Massad Boulos for the Arab world concern me in terms of the potential for mission conflict or conflict of interest. How will you work to ensure that state maintains its authority and encourage the administration to conduct a full vetting of any potential conflicts of interest and to ensure there's clarity of alignment with special envoys?
Sure. Thank you for the question, because I think it's a valid one. With the exception of Mr. Boulos, who I don't know, may have met once but don't know, every one of the envoys that have been named so far is someone that I've worked with in the past and expect to work well with in the future. To me, the expression of a special envoy is critically important. Where it's most successful, it's on a complex issue with a defined goal and an expression of presidential priorities. So Sudan is an example of a special envoy, and Mr. Perriello and the job he's done there. And this is in addition to the fact that we have an ambassador and we have other diplomatic presence there that can be very complementary. So the way this will work and how I anticipate it will work is these envoys work for the president in coordination with us. These are all people. With the exception of one who I'm not disparaging, I just don't know him, but I've worked with everyone else that you've mentioned, are people that are going to be focused on this like a laser. And they will need to do so not simply in coordination with the Department of State because of subject matter expertise. Let's say you reach an agreement or you reach an outcome, you're still going to need the technical support necessary to pull this off. And we have a wide array of experts in the Department of State that will help achieve that. And it'll involve other elements of the U.S. government. So as an example, if you're going to reach an agreement on migration, say in the Western Hemisphere, that also could entail the necessity to have a conversation about trade policy and tariffs that will involve commerce and others. That's the only way this will work, and that's how I anticipate it working.
I've agreed to co-chair with Senator Hagerty a Commission on Reform and Modernization of the State Department that Senator Cardin created with him. We cannot, in my view, do more with less given the challenges of the global moment. I think we need more investment in U.S. diplomacy and development as instruments of national power, but we also need to address efficiencies and make sure that we are streamlining and focusing the department and supporting its workforce, the Foreign Service. How will you work to make sure that the Trump administration's efficiency mandate will strengthen and not deplete core state functions?
Well, first of all, I think the work of this new committee that's being set up as a result of the legislation that passed will be critical. My understanding is the impediment was that not all the appointments have been made. Maybe
Right.
That's now changed. And we eagerly await that because I do think that there are two things that are very important. The first is when we talk about efficiency, the efficiency isn't simply just saving money. The efficiency is improving performance. A key part of the State Department is customer service. We provide consular affairs, passports, visas, all kinds of work around the world for Americans who are stranded or in trouble or need to get somewhere. Improving that experience for the consumer is one of the top priorities we need to have. How can we leverage, and I think Secretary Blinken has begun this work, we need to build on this, how can we infuse technology, AI and the like, not simply to improve the customer service aspects of the State Department, but improve the productivity. If somehow through leveraging technology appropriately, we can get people at the State Department to achieve 3 times the amount of work than they do now because it takes less time to do these tasks, or frees them up to do other tasks. That would be an enormous win, and I hope the Commission will look at those aspects of this as well.
I understand, Senator, if I might move to another question, that multilateral organizations concern and frustrate many of us. Some of their actions have been counter to American interest. But when we've withdrawn from multilateral organizations, and in particular some UN entities, it's also given an opening to our adversaries. The previous Trump administration withdrew from UNESCO, the Human Rights Council, the World Health Organization. And I'm concerned that if we do so without thinking through the consequences, we may abandon our chance to implement our agenda around human rights, around 5G standards, around technical standards that matter for the 21st century. Do you support sustained U.S. participation in multilateral organizations, and how will you work to strengthen our leadership in those institutions in ways that prevent our adversaries from advancing their competing agendas?
Well, I want to point back to what I said at the opening, and that is our engagement in any international agreement or any international arrangement or any international organization has to be driven by the answer to one of three questions. Will our involvement in this organization make us safer, make us more prosperous, make us more secure? It has to be justified by an American interest. It just does. I mean, we're in an era where we need to really, it should have always been that way, but now more than ever. And so each of these will have different components to it. I think there's a second component of funding, and that is, should the United States be funding organizations who in many cases are pursuing and or achieving outcomes that are contrary to the national interest of the United States? Each of these will require a serious examination as we work through them, and a justification to Congress about why we're no longer funding it or we're no longer participating. I think you do point to one that I can tell you right now is one that will be critical for us to be engaged in, and that is the setting of standards. But the setting of standards, for people to understand, is it's not simply from these organizations, it also becomes practical. So throughout Africa, we are now seeing the deployment of these safe city programs by Huawei. Now, this isn't just a commercial deal for Huawei. This is the ability to ingrain itself in the telecommunication of these countries and establish itself as the leader in 5G. And now all of the other technologies that depend on 5G, additive manufacturing, the 3D printing and so forth, autonomous vehicles, they will all have to be drawn to the standards set by Huawei. That's not because an international organization set it up, it's because they've established market dominance, and it's a concern we have in multiple parts of the global south and the developing world. We need to be engaged that way as well.
I very much look forward to working with you on deploying the full tool set that allows us to compete in the global south, including the Development Finance Corporation, something Senator Corker and I led on this committee, in which I know you see the potential for. As I come to the end of my time, I've worked hard with Senator Graham to get signed into law two different bills I wanted to mention. The Global Fragility Act, which presses the Department of Defense, Department of State, AID, to have a common strategy in fragile states and to effectively. Recently, for Act, something that Meeks and I worked on, create security and governed and insecure in the global south, in South America, in Africa, and Southeast Asia. Both of these bills address the root causes of instability and facilitate cost-effective uses of American dollars by encouraging engagement of the private sector and philanthropy. Can I count on your support to work, as the Secretary have confirmed in the State Department, to implement these two laws more effectively in the coming years?
Well, and the conservation one, I believe, just passed, right? Most recently.
Just signed into law. Yeah.
We're getting there just in time to help you with it, and it's had strong bipartisan support. On the global fragility, this has been ongoing for quite a bit of time, and we'll have to go back and check on the progress. I don't know entirely. I know there's a 10-year plan, and there's the 5 countries that we've identified. And by the way, no country likes to be identified as fragile, so we have to be sensitive about how we do it. But I think that's a component. We got to go back and see where we are on that 10-year planning, because that's an important way of leveraging both economic security and development efforts in the whole of government. And I think key to this is going to be not simply the Department of State, but it's that steering committee that's supposed to meet every 3 months at the National Security Council. That core work is happening. Look, are great, but if someone's not measuring at the end, whether it's reaching its outcome, we're going to have a huge problem. But the goal of that legislation, as I recall, is, and believe still, is we want to get ahead of this. Before a crisis, this is about preventing crisis. which is, frankly is a lot cheaper and a lot better than actually dealing with crisis after the fact. And so identifying places around the world that are in danger of becoming chaotic, uncertain, insecure, and getting ahead of it, and a variety of means to prevent that from happening. And preventing those crises from happening is going to save us a lot of headaches, a lot of danger, and a lot of money.
In closing, I'll just repeat something I've heard from several of my colleagues. I think that our global network of alliances and partners rooted in our shared values, a commitment to democracy and human rights, is essential to our national security. And how the war in Ukraine ends, and whether a peace agreement there lasts and secures Ukraine from ongoing Russian aggression, is critical to our credibility and security and to sustaining that network of allies and partners. I hope that's something you strongly agree with. I look forward to working with you towards that end.